Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Today our episode is Market Speculation and Struggles.
Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast with Scott Whitwam, your blueprint to financial abundance. Settle in as we explore the mindset and methods for wealth building through real estate.
Welcome back. I'm Scott Whitwam, and today we're going to be talking about market speculations and struggles. And really, it's going to be part of a larger free-form discussion. It's about speculating about the current market, the struggles that are going on, how these struggles affect investors and how they are facing these market changes in their businesses, and how it can lead to a general next stage of growth. To do this, I've invited my friends back, investors Brian and Gina Kingdeskis, back with me on the podcast. Welcome back, guys. Glad to have you here this morning.
Hello.
And we don't have a script today, but we've talked about a few things that we want to talk about today and that we want to touch on. And I think we just need to do it and kind of see where it goes.
Yeah. Free flow it.
Yeah. I mean, who's going to cut us off? This is our show. We can kind of do what I want, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So let's start with the topic. I want to talk about speculating on the market and how the struggles in the market and our businesses can lead to growth. So, obviously everybody who's in real estate, and I don't care what sector in real estate you are, there's been some struggles the last couple of years, and we're still kind of facing a bit of that right now. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. We, 4 years ago when things kind of with the rates went up and everything started happening, I mean, we had about 60 to 65 flips going on. So you can imagine, summer rolled around and rates rose, homes wouldn't move. We kept lowering and lowering and lowering.
Right.
And then we ended up, thank goodness, we had good investors, some of them. But our main one, he came up with a plan. We worked through it, but it was hard. We decided to stay with it and do the right thing. And instead of, tossing in a towel and running, we decided to stick with it. And, we're getting through it. It's still some of those old lingering houses are there and issues, but it caused us to really, change what we're doing. I'm not a big runner. I'm just like, okay, let's roll the sleeves up.
Figure out what we need to do to fix this thing.
And you've been doing it a long time. Anybody who's in real estate for a long time, they've got to reinvent themselves. Things change a lot. The market changes. So, we just came up with different ways to make money and different channels and funnels and stuff like that. Just like we were talking about before we were on, all the stuff that you're doing, and which is awesome. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like what Brian said, really going inward and thinking about, okay, this is tough. Like we are struggling. We still have a couple houses that were almost, they're finally listed. But yes, I mean, it was definitely a challenge for us. And like Brian said, thrown in the towel but choosing to do the right thing. But now looking at things differently and realizing, okay, we know what the market can do. And, Brian went through, and I'm sure you went through the crash in the early 2000s and stuff like that. This was a little bit different, but finding ways to better ourselves. And one of those ways is, we went and got our contractor's license and we started diversifying ourselves a little bit more, not just doing our own flips, not just doing our own pad splits, but really focusing on giving back to the community and how we could help others with our knowledge. And the contracting business has really helped balance that all out a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say at least the last 2.5 to 3 years have been a little bit different than the 2008 crash.
Oh, yeah.
So the 2008 crash really manifests itself, 9, 10, 11, 12. But the difference was when prices dropped on houses so severely, it really affected, the traditional real estate market. But if you were flexible and you got into the short sale side of the market, you did really well. I remember having 23 short sale listings.
Oh, yeah.
We were killing it in doing short sales because there were still investor buyers out there.
Yeah.
There were people.
How fun was that calling the banks all the time?
Yeah, well, it was horrible. I had a whole back end short sale team. My wife ran it for a while, and then we transferred it over to title companies. Got involved in it, and then we worked with Davis Mild Law Firm. They had a short sale division too, and so some of it is you were required to tell clients
Yeah.
they needed to seek legal advice, right?
Yeah.
And so someone wanted to, we would get those over to Davis Miles and they would negotiate the whole back end thing. But it was a big, grueling process. But in a lot of ways, it was better because there were buyers in the market.
Yeah.
Right now, there aren't buyers in the market. I mean, you think about a market here, we're in the Phoenix area, right? So we should be seeing, 10,000 units a month selling, and we're seeing anywhere from 3,500 to 5,000 a month on a regular basis. And, people aren't excited. I mean, even when you go to buy a home as an investor now, right? So it used to be you could get, 8% interest and pay a point or something to the hard money guy, and you could get a pretty decent, especially if you knew you had a project that was going to stretch out for a year.
Yeah.
Now it's hard to do that. People are, 1099, I want points, 14, no points, 18.
I haven't heard of
You
the
know?
8%.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not like that now.
No, there's just no way you can find that now.
Well, there's the buyers. They're there.
There are buyers out there.
But their buying ability is so much less because of that interest rate.
Well, yeah, and that's true. Because let's say you put a house in the market for $500,000 at 7% interest, or 6.75 or 7% interest. That's a whole different ballgame than putting that $500,000 house in the market with 3% interest.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a huge swing.
Yeah, and we, talking about that, that's one of the things we're talking about changing and shifting. So we made that one change recently where we're buying, our focus for years, for the 25 years, the majority of it was to kind of focus on that first time end buyer. And so we kind of changed a little bit where we're focusing on more of those middle, not the upper price range, but for 500,000, we're just finding that those people just they have more options.
Right.
So they may have some more disposable income. They can buy down rates. So we've, like the one we just did with that hoarder house.
Yes.
We got
Bomb Squad house.
Bomb Squad, this craziness, but the sales price on that one, we bought it for 400. Sales price is like 600. So we'll better make a little bit of money, but then we're appealing to a buyer that has more means to take down.
But here's the difference between
house.
what you guys are doing, okay? And I've seen it firsthand in real life, right? But I mean, obviously, people can see it on your YouTube channel. One of the things that you're doing that not a lot of investors do, especially in a tougher market like it has been, is you guys are still doing quality work.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, what happens is investors go, "Oh, it's much tighter out here, so I'm going to spend less."
Yeah.
I'm gonna create a lesser quality product. Well, what happens then is it sits on the market longer.
Yeah.
Because the houses that sell the fastest, for investors who are watching today, the houses that sell the fastest are the nicest houses that are priced the best.
Yeah.
I mean, so when you walk into a house that you guys have done, if Trinity's touched it, you walk into it and it's spectacular. It's a wow house, and it's much more likely to sell. The days on market are going to be less.
Yep.
And the buyer pool is going to be bigger because again, in a market like this, buyers got more options.
They do.
You know.
Yeah. It's funny because we don't typically work. We're agents, but we typically don't, take buyers around. And we had a lead through a friend, and he just bought a brand new home, $500,000 home, and we just did like the inspection walkthrough with them. And just speaking to your point, I was, she came from the builder, so she was more used to it.
Right.
But I was blown away how crappy the house was. It's a $500,000 home. All the fixtures were chrome, no ceiling fan.
Right.
Baseboards were under 2 inches wide, and carpet everywhere. And I'm like, this is a $500,000 home.
Yeah.
Like, we don't do this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think about, I would spend $5 more and get a black faucet. Why are we doing chrome?
Or spend an extra $10 a linear foot and get 3.5 or 4 inch baseboards.
Yes.
But it's
so
builder
cheap.
grade, and
I know. Her brother's
my roots are
in the
new
business,
home,
and I was like,
so
come on, he's like, and they're all like that.
They
but
really
to your
are.
point, in the plastic surrounds in the showers, I'm like, who does this?
Yeah. Well, Gina knows too, because she's been in that market. They do make options where you can upgrade it, but a lot of times in this market, it's like, well, 500 is kind of my top of my line, so I'm going to have to do builder grade instead of going, down to the showroom and going, oh, I want this better profiled baseboard, or I want this subway tile in the bathrooms and stuff. And
The,
again,
the builders are eating it big time. Like they're not making
their
any
margins
money.
are way down
They're
compared to what they
buying, bulk to pay down,
Yeah.
And they're just not making any money. It's a tough gig. And so margins are thin, they are everywhere.
Well, the other thing I've seen, and I've had a couple of clients referred to me from some law offices to try to come up with a solution. They're in the midst of trying to sue, the builder and come up with some solutions. Because as a contractor and as a real estate broker, I can put a couple different sets of eyes in a single walkthrough. And you can tell that the builders are also trying to find cheaper labor.
Yeah.
Because you go into some of these builders who have always been known for very good quality, and you walk in and you see subway tile that's not straight.
Yeah.
You see grout that's coming apart. So obviously, one of the problems that they're having is that they're going, hey, our normal guy is, $20 a square foot to put this tile on the wall. We can get a guy for 17 or 16, and now they're having issues after the fact.
Yeah.
And,
I'd be interested to see what builder you're talking about.
yeah. Well, I'm not going to say.
I know off camera, but it's
on air,
interesting.
but-
I mean, the struggle is real for the builders as well. They have, like Brian said, a little bit more buying power with their mortgage companies to buy down those rates. So as investors, we're competing against the builder in terms of, our client that just got into this new home, if it would have been FHA, he had a 3.99% interest rate. He couldn't qualify for FHA, so then he's conventional, but they have that power. And so buyers really have to decide, hey, what's more important to me now? That lower interest rate, or can I love the home, date the rate, and then refinance later and everything.
Yeah.
But it's just like Brian said, it's appeasing to a slightly different market at this time. People that can afford a little bit nicer. We're purchasing homes that are a little bit newer and nicer neighborhoods and kind of putting our little seal of approval. But there's nothing like finishing a house and feeling like, I'm really proud of this.
Yeah, you're proud of it. Hey, this will compete against a new build.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize, too, in the new build community that on average, builders make about 8%. When I went through my new home builder, what is it? The CRS new build certification program, through the CRS program. One of the things that you go through is all of the, reasons why builders and how they scale their prices and stuff. There's a lot of overhead. You worked in it, you know that there's a lot of overhead in building a new home. A lot of times they're not picking that land up cheap. They've got joint venture projects on the land. So, they're in some kind of joint venture. So they've got to pay for that land at exorbitant prices. But on average, they make about 8%. And that's kind of what Wall Street is expecting from some of these big builders. But you get in a market crunch like this, they're giving away appliances, they're doing the rate buy downs for you. There's a lot of things that they're giving up, and it comes off their bottom line. So they're trying to find places that they can absorb it, which gives, in this kind of market, which gives your product a higher value.
Yeah.
You can turn this struggle in this market into a competitive product against new home builders by going through and actually reconditioning something, so that when somebody walks through the front door, it's like they got a brand new home.
Yeah. And seeing the black faucets over the chrome faucets and everything. But not only are we dealing with that, but I know in the month of June that there were more cancellations than in the last few years, other than when COVID hit and everybody got scared and people started canceling, and the market did completely the opposite. But more cancellation of real estate transactions in the month of June than there's been in a long time. And I really have to think that has to do with the interest rate that we're fighting, and people sign a contract, and then as they go through the loan process, the lender gets further along the road and
tells them
realize
what the payment is.
Yeah, they see the payment and they're like, oh my gosh, $3,900, and everything.
Well, let's face this. Anytime you're working with a lender, they're always saying, well, things will be better in the future.
Yeah.
Lenders. I work with them all the time. And a lot of them, oh, this is temporary, don't worry. 3 years ago, I have a lender friend who was telling everybody, don't worry about it. This is just temporary. Remember when Yellen and Powell were all talking about this transitory inflation and don't worry, it's not. And they were all talking about just go ahead and buy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We'll be able to refinance you in 6 months and get you back down into a 3% rate.
Yeah.
Well, how well did that work out? And that's what happens. You go into a new build and you're believing, especially, in this year, when everybody has expected the Fed to have already had a couple rate cuts. And now every month it's like, oh, we thought things would be a little bit lower.
Yeah.
Now they get to the time where they've got to pull the trigger, and they realize that their payment's going to be pretty, substantial. But
this crash compared to, the 2006, 7, 8, where everything kind of just fell apart. Like the prices dropped, inventory skyrocketed. This one has always been weird.
Yes.
So I track, actives, single family residents in Maricopa County, and it's low. I mean, we're like a little below 18,000 active single family residences on the MLS. And, that's maybe 3-4 months of inventory.
Of supply, yeah.
That's not much.
Right.
And it's stayed there. I mean, we've, it's gone down like the last 6 weeks, gone down like 2,000 homes. So we're, I guess, picking up. Right.
I go look at the
by
amount
looking
of
at the
go look at the amount of canceled listings.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This went on 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Our inventory was low.
Right.
Our prices are not dropping drastically.
No.
If not, they're going up a little bit. What's happening?
Yeah.
It's weird.
We're in a weird time because not only in the real estate market. Okay, so let's just go look at the stock market. I mean, how many of you looked at price of gold lately? It's at what, $3,500 an ounce, right? Normally when gold goes up, what happens in the stock market? It goes down.
Huh.
Normally gold is the hedge when the market is going down. So, and when gold goes down, it's normally the stock market's going up because people are pulling out of, tangible assets like gold, silver, platinum, and they're going into stocks. But right now gold's high and the stock market's high.
Yeah.
And, it's really not explainable. The dollar has even started to stabilize and gain a little bit of ground. I mean, it's just, we are living in a weird time, which is causing a lot of struggles for people who, go, oh, well, when this happens, I do this, right? Well, the problem is none of those conditions are existing. And, coming through this, there's a lot of people that have been just laid out. I've talked to a couple of big investors, and both of them, and both of them have lost over $1 million in this market change and swing.
Yeah.
Now, they've been able to, in the last year and a half, kind of get their feet back into the ground. But still, it takes a while to recover from that kind of hit in this thing.
Yeah.
It's a real struggle. And like you were talking about up front, you've got to come up with some ways of figuring out what are you going to do different in order to be profitable and get through it, kind of into the next, kind of facilitate that new journey that you're going to be on.
I kind of look at like, if you have 2 different lanes here, you've got, problems in your life and you got problems in your business. They're when people have those come into their lives, that they either attack it,
right,
or they just drink or smoke or hide from the problems.
Right. Yeah. They probably try to push it down with something.
Yeah. So, and part of it is just kind of the way we're made, we're just going to survive and we're going to tackle it. Right. So, and God puts these things in our lives for a reason. And, when you just tackle it and you start going to work on whether it's yourself or your business. And that's kind of what we did when this was happening.
Well, I think you were talking about this as being kind of the journey through your personal development.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can either fold, which means, try to suppress it, or do exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What are you going to do to facilitate the journey into this new season? Because things aren't like they were.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to facilitate this for personal development?
And it's just like, you can look at business or whatever you're looking at. When stuff like this happens, where the market kind of changes in whatever industry, you'll find yourself having a little bit more time. Right. So that's where you start kind of looking into yourself. You're praying and you're just like, that's where you can sit down and really dive into what maybe this is your passion somewhere else. This is what you really want to do. And so you have extra time to maybe work on that, and Gina and I, just for an example, like we're not speakers and, but we've really started on the side. We're starting to do some content and stuff like that. And the passion behind it is because, we love real estate. We love God. We want to, when you get older, you kind of want to share.
Well, you want to help
some of your lessons that you've learned. And so, we started doing this. We started doing some pad splits like that has been solid investment. If people want to be in real estate and they want cash flow, the traditional way, you cannot make money be a traditional renter because of the rates, the prices, and with pad
Regulation.
split, like
Yeah.
you can get your expenses covered, you can help out community. And then, so we've kind of, we've done that, and then we're passionate about it. So then we're helping other people grow their pad split business. And so we've got our contractor license. We're building pad split. We were not doing this 4 years ago.
Right.
No.
So this is my point is like, I always say that I'm not hireable. Like this is what I am doing for a living. So I have to figure it out. That's
Right.
kind of the way, we've approached it, but we've kind of reinvented ourselves. And, I feel like, I'm at another point where I'm just like, yeah, I got more work to do. I'm always feeling like I got more work to do because it's changing and
Right.
the market's changing, and you've got to kind of grow and
Well,
adapt.
I think people underestimate God's creation and its ability to be resilient. Sometimes we face challenges and we just go, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, why can't you?
Yeah.
What's limiting you? What's stopping you? And so maybe it's, hey, well, let's look at doing something we've never done before.
Yeah.
Let's start a construction company. Let's become a premier pad split construction company.
Yeah.
Let's help other people understand the pad split to do all the things that you talked about. And sometimes it takes personal development. Now, I know you guys are really good about your routine. You guys are in the gym, you're working out. What about people who are facing the challenges in this journey because of the struggles you're going through, and looking inside and going, I've neglected this thing.
Yeah.
If I don't take care of changing the way I eat, changing the way I exercise and work out, I'm not going to live the life that I want to live when I get to be 50, 60, and 70 years old. So maybe now some introspective, peering, kind of makes a difference. And I know that you've talked about.
Yeah, for sure.
that
I
quite
mean,
a
like
bit.
what Brian said, you had to like reinvent yourself. So you're reinventing yourself, not only in the business aspect, but also reinventing your mindset.
Right.
Like, hey, I've been so set in my ways and this is how things go. All of a sudden, a downpour happens, and a big downpour happens. And so you have to really just absorb that rain, let it soak in, because God is watering that seed for you. He's really like, okay, let's water that seed. Let's see what you need to do.
Right.
And so during the last 4 years, we've done a lot of that in many different areas. But really, it's just breaking it down. And like Brian said, you said as well, Scott, like you really need to just look at all areas of your life, your finances, your relationships, your relationship with God, your work, all your fitness and your spiritual well-being, and just think, okay, what do I need to do? And if you have to break it down step by step, you can do a little bit each day
Right.
to kind of start focusing on that. And, we're constantly doing that, like every day.
Yeah.
I know last week I was really trying to process some things and going through God's promises. And I went inside myself, and I'm not usually like an inside quiet person. Like Brian and I, we usually talk through everything, but for some reason, whatever change we were going through really had me look inside and just quiet my mind and really listen to what God was saying. And like by the end of the week, whew,
Yeah.
we saw some really sunny days.
Well,
We did.
Well, let's talk about that, Gina. Maybe you could start this kind of off on this, the journey we're talking about here. Having God at the center of your journey in order to lead you to the place where you want to be. And I know that in your and Brian's life that has been a big transformation in the last few years for you. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we touched on this before. I'm more of the newer Christian,
Right.
so I'm all excited about everything. But doing that mind shift from taking the world revolving around me and my needs and moving it to the world revolves around God, and God is my center point.
Right.
Everything that I do needs to be from him above, and everything that happens to us or that is given to me or my gifts is from God. So really it's about that mind shift of like, oh, the world around revolves around me. You know, I got this award because I did so great, or, you know, my kids are so awesome because I raised them well, or something like that, and say, wait, stop. I need to remove myself from it and really focus on God being the center and give him all the praise. And that's really important.
What a difference it not only makes in your life, because obviously it helps to bring a center to things. So when you're facing struggles, you're not facing them alone anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's not all on you. It's not all on your shoulders. But what a difference it makes too for others, because now your interactions with other people are about helping them and elevating them. And that really builds relationships.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I can do something to help you, now all of a sudden, without trying to, I'm elevated in your eyes, and vice versa. When you're helping other people, they're like, hey, these are the guys you need, because look how they went out of the way for me. But you're not doing that because you're trying to be big in their eyes. You're doing it because you realize that we want other people to experience the goodness that God has put into our life.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference. And, you know, so I think that perspective that you have is pretty awesome. And I know it's great that you two guys get to do this together.
Yeah.
You know, so talk a little bit about that center and how it makes a difference for you, Brian.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I always, you know, I've gone to many, you know, men's breakfasts, or you meet up and stuff like that. And you always can tell when someone's going through something, just the way they talk.
Right.
Like people are afraid of trials, but the person that you are, if you're centered with God while you're going through that, you're like the closest you are with him. So even though things are rocky, you feel okay, because you just the trust that you have in him.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I personally, you know, I always ask God, I'm like, I love the way I am when I'm going through a trial, because I feel close to you. But when things are going really well, how can I still be close to God? You know, that I always ask him that as a challenge, because, you know, recently we're reading A.W. Tozer. Have you ever?
Yeah.
He is deep.
Oh yeah.
And
I love his book, The Pursuit of God.
Yeah, we bought the one
3-in-1.
The 3-in-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the, you know, the knowledge of God.
Yeah.
And whatever. But
yeah, he is very insightful.
His outlook on God is just amazing. And it's like, you know, the more whatever I'm reading and what I'm personally learning is, you know, just that the stuff in the Bible, how really true it is.
Right.
You know, and then you have people who don't understand, because we can't comprehend the God. They come up for excuses and reasons why everything happens, when the Bible, to me, it's true.
Right.
It's the way things are. God created the heavens and earth, created light, created human.
Right.
Like everything he says, we all want to put like, oh, well, you know, maybe one day was 1,000 years to God. How about
One day
how
was
about
one
it
day.
is what it is? Because if he
Yeah.
is God, and he's always been, he always will be, and he is going to be forever, like, why would he not be able to do that?
Right.
And so, you know, personally, that's what I'm kind of been going through, is just like the awesomeness of God, and putting my arms around that and trying to figure it out. But A.W. Tozer, you know, in his book, he just talks about it in depth, and he's so deep. And so, you know, that's kind of what I've been going through a little bit. So
yeah, well, it's hard to help somebody if you don't first help yourself.
Exactly.
You've got to be able to have something you can give to somebody.
Yeah.
And this gets back to that age-old argument that it permeated itself in our society today about rich people. Well, rich people provide jobs, right?
Yeah.
So take all the money from the rich people, then who's going to provide the jobs? Then your only answer is government, which a lot of people look to as their God. You know, government will provide for my food. Government will provide for my money. But really, it's about us building ourselves so that we're in a position to be able to give into every good work, to be able to help people, to be able to elevate people. But we have to first deal with ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, I can't counsel you about right things if I haven't first learned myself right things.
Yeah.
And that's why I call the Bible the manual for life.
It is.
You know, I mean, when you buy a car, you know, they put this big, thick manual in the glove box, right? It's the manual for how that vehicle operates, everything you're supposed to do to it, when you're supposed to service it, all that rest of the stuff. Well, the Bible is the exact same thing for humanity, for the creation of God. You know, the days we're supposed to rest, the exercise we're supposed to get, the way we're supposed to treat people. You know,
and it talks about money. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of verses on money.
Yeah, there's more verses about money than any other topic in the Bible.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, more than prayer, more than love, more than salvation, more than any of that. The Bible talks about money.
Yeah.
Over 2,350 verses in the Bible about finances and money. Yeah, isn't that? So obviously, if that's the manual for life, money is very important.
Yeah.
Solomon said, money answers everything. Well, really, I mean, think about it. If you want to go on television and be able to tell people something, I don't care whether it's, talk program or education, whatever, but if you want to talk to people around the world, you need money to get on the satellite or put the satellite in the air. It takes money. If you want to build a building for your business, what does it take? It takes money. You want to hire employees, it takes what? It takes money.
Yeah.
So money can be a solution. You need medical care. I mean, it takes money. Doctors get paid and lawyers get paid and all of that stuff. But God, in all his wisdom, realized that we should have the knowledge in order to be good stewards with the money, because then you get a perspective that money isn't something that is for me. It's something that God gives me stewardship over, so that I can have enough to take care of the needs of my family, which is godly, but enough left over to meet the needs of the world, which is also godly, about helping other people.
So what are some things you're doing to cope in this market and reinvent yourself? And what are some things?
Well, it's been a time of reinvention. As you know, when we built our real estate company, I would say against probably good advice. When the markets are really good, all advice is good. Everybody has the answer for everything. And we set out to build a real estate company. And so I tell people it's a little bit different. So we built the real estate brokerage. I built my real estate business inside the brokerage, along with what my other agents do. Then we built the flipping company. Then we built the wholesale company. Then we built the construction company and added commercials. We do residential and commercial construction. And we built the coaching company.
Yeah.
So the idea was to have a complete real estate company. Anything related to real estate we had. But I will tell you that when the market changed, it changed so severely on real estate that what we thought we were building with all of these spokes, so that if one thing went down, we would have these other. It managed to oppress everything down. I mean, and so we had to kind of reinvent. We had to say, okay, look, we can wholesale, but really to wholesale the way we were doing it, we were investing a lot of money in marketing. It was paying for itself. We had people, making phone calls constantly and doing all that. It was time consuming. You've wholesale properties. It was time consuming. So we said, hey, look, let's just, we're not going to, dissolve the company, but let's just stop, So we laid the people off. We got rid of everybody. We said, hold on, we'll go in, roll all that into our flipping company. And then, we'll take the wholesale stuff that comes. We went away from being aggressively at marketing, outwardly, to doing direct to seller only. Yeah. So we don't work with wholesalers anymore. Now I know you guys do.
Yep.
But we just there's a few that you work with, but because the way that we do things, kind of back to my no money down, the solutions with wholesalers don't accomplish, kind of that goal. So we basically had to reinvent, the whole real estate program, how we were doing things, and really looking at what could be trimmed. So to do that, you can either just go, okay, hey, I'm just going to make all these things and just start cutting, or you can do what I do. Because when people go to work for me, they become family. It's tough when you've got to tell somebody, hey, you don't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
Hey, we're shutting this down. That's tough for me because of my personality.
Sure.
Because when we bring somebody in, they become family.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of introspection, a lot of prayer time, a lot of seeking God time.
Yeah.
Because the thing outside of real estate, that we don't promote a lot on here, because I have another channel that we promote regarding our marketplace ministry and stuff, being a full-time senior pastor, we had to do some of the same stuff at the church. Because when COVID hit, it changed everything.
Yeah.
A great portion of people who attended churches and such, they started doing it by live stream.
Yeah.
So they're not there anymore. So you got all of this changing. So we've got it in the real estate market, we've got it on the church side of things, and really had to make some tough decisions, but we really needed help, and it's kind of stuff that, when you say it's above my pay grade, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I could figure out, okay, I just get rid of everything, go back to being a real estate agent.
Yeah.
That would be, but there's a reason why we are doing what we're doing. And I know it's for a future. So we don't want to abandon and give up on it. So we really had to look inside and get close with God on the decisions side of things to make sure that we were doing what needed to be done. I don't benefit anybody. I don't benefit my family. I don't benefit those in my coaching program. I don't benefit my real estate agents if I go out of business. So what are we going to do that? And I needed the wisdom of Solomon. James says, anybody lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all men liberally, and will not, bring reproach with it. He'll give it freely to you. And so that's kind of where I went, and then just started being real sensitive to the things that we should do. Turned down a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
it's fun saying no, though.
Yeah,
it's okay.
No's empowering.
Yes, it is.
So there was a lot of things that I may have taken on before, but we really just said, hey, the numbers don't work, the timing doesn't work, the scope doesn't work for us. So I may not send my construction crew over to Buckeye to do a job. It's like, no, we're just not going to do that. Yeah. We're going to stay in the Southeast Valley and we'll take jobs over here. Yeah, we may lose some business over there, but I get rid of a lot of headaches that I have when I've got remote.
We do the same. We like people that are looking to build pad splits. We literally tell them East Valley.
Yeah.
And which it is to me a better area to have
right.
that
Well, I'm with you on
product
that.
because I'm not a big fan of Glendale, Peoria, that area. Besides, it's 45 minutes or more away.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I'm so impressed with all the stuff that you've done. Like I've been doing real estate for 25 years and you put a lot of pieces together that I couldn't do. My brain doesn't work that way. I'm more of like vision, go.
Right.
And then she's that puts the pieces together, but you are doing both. And
but that's the neat
really
the neat
cool
thing about what we're talking about here is every one of us have a different part to play in the kingdom process. Yeah. Right. I am not going to do 50 flips at a time. You know what I mean? It's not me. We did 7 at one time.
Yeah.
And I thought, what in the world am I doing?
Yeah.
And so I much rather do less of those flips. I much rather do less of those things, but you've got the systems.
Yeah.
And you've got,
well, again, we're just plugging forward.
Right.
We're not giving up. Do I wanna? I mean, I think we have, I don't know, maybe 15 going on right now or more, 15, 16. I don't know exactly how many because we just got one that are selling. So, but that's our vision right now because, we want to catch up as fast as we can. Right. And so we're going 100 miles per hour, at my age. Like I don't want to be grinding the way I'm grinding, but I'm healthy. I feel good, and God's keeping us going.
To celebration.
So it's like why not? So
and it's also like reinventing. Like during this last 4 years, like we've had to relook at our crews,
right?
Because the product of what we need, how things need to look at the end, and so we've made a lot of changes that way too, and just
where we purchase our stuff.
That's a huge one. I mean. When you get in your Home Depot text, my phone's over there, so I'm sure there's some of them right now. But and you start really looking at what your guys are buying, and you're like, oh my gosh, they just spent $125 on a faucet. Well, guess what? I'm going to jump on Amazon. I'm going to find a faucet that looks equally as nice, and it's going to be $45. Right. So we kind of like streamlined it and took that buying ability from our trades away, but saying, Okay, how many do you need? Let me get this. And I ship it directly to them,
To the job
to
site.
their
Yeah.
house, and they are responsible for it. Or I
Gotcha.
hand it
That's right.
off, and everything. And that's just, the way that we had to make it means
But in this
work.
in this economy, you had to look at
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you really did to make things work.
And Amazon's great too, because if something doesn't work out, you just
You
send
can ship
it
it
back.
back.
Send
Yeah.
it back.
Yeah.
So, in market changes and reinventing, like it needs to be where you almost need to say, hey, honey, I'm going away for a day or two, and I'm just going to sit and I'm just going to figure things out, seek God, and
Right.
just see what path I need to take. You need to quiet yourself down because everything's so busy. And when you're
Right.
struggling and, you're trying to make ends meet, you just kind of need to shut it off and focus on what's next, what does God want me to do, and seek Him and stuff like that. So we've had a lot of moments like that.
Yeah, and you had a good one just recently. I went away to Wisconsin. My son's moving to Madison.
okay.
So Brian had a couple days by himself, and he came back and his cup was full.
I just
read,
yes,
journaled,
yes.
He was so
read,
excited just
seeking
to.
God. And,
It's
Yeah.
amazing when you get some quiet time.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote a business plan on an airplane from here to Kona, Hawaii.
yeah,
I mean, it was a long flight.
Yeah.
So I just started writing, and everything that I had, because of all the busyness that happens when you're in the office, I just had this time. I just started writing in a journal, and I just page after page and drawings and pages and pages. And then when I got to Hawaii, I had the outline, in order to put it all together.
Yeah.
So sometimes that quiet time, when you can do that and you can get refilled, and the stuff that's that's in there that you haven't been able to let out because you just haven't had the time to focus. I mean, how many times during a normal day do you just have 2 hours of quiet time?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm
I mean, we have our
When you're
mornings. Well, we
sleeping.
have our mornings and
Yes,
stuff.
yes.
But yes,
but
we're
those-
still getting distracted.
those are
and stuff like
kind of
that,
more your
so.
focus on, taking care and preparing for the day.
Yeah.
But just the other time. So, okay. So let's discuss one of a little section of writing that the Apostle Paul sent to the believers in Galatia, in Galatians chapter 6, 7 through 9. Now, I don't normally do this on this podcast, but I think it'd be really good because I think this will be very helpful. It doesn't matter whether you believe in God or not. The principles still remain. So Brian, verse 7 says, "Don't be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." Why don't you give us a little bit of insight?
Yeah, I mean,
on that?
this verse is one of those where it has, it can be so positive, but it also can be a punch in the face. And it's kind of what we've been talking
Right.
about with the market. You if you ever just kind of took a step back and look back and you're like, how did I get here? Whether it's a relationship with your spouse, whether it's your body,
Right.
your business. And so, that verse, you reap what you sow. I look at it, obviously the whole verse is based on God and
Right.
what we're sowing and reading the Bible and learning His Word and, just how we're serving and obeying and all that stuff. That's what it's about. But if you look at it with business or with life, you reap what you sow. So, the Bible that we have a Life Application Bible,
Okay,
NIV, and in the application it says, do you think that someone's planting watermelon seeds and they get apples? It's like, it's so important what you sow in every area of your life, you will reap a harvest. And so, it's, if you want to get really deep, you kind of pause and you like think, put the end in mind.
Right.
When I'm on my deathbed, the whole story has played out.
Right.
What really matters is the relationships with your kids and your wife,
Right.
and all this other stuff doesn't matter. But when you take it from there and you go back to our age or when you're younger, it's all these little things that you're planting. And they're very. And the thing is, there's a book, The Slight Edge. It's a personal development, worldly book, but he talks about the concept of, small little things done every day. They're easy to do. They're easy not to do. For an example, like if I go to the gym for a half hour, 5 days a week, over time, I will probably be in better shape. But it's also easy to sit on the couch, put the TV on and not do it.
And
so you're going
it.
down there.
Right.
But just in your relationships with your spouse, you know, if I'm continuing to date my spouse and during the day, I'm like texting her and, hey, baby, how you doing? How's your day? You know, I'm taking her out to dinner. I'm spending time with her. We're doing walks. We're reading. Like all those things, I'm planting seeds.
Right.
If I don't, I'm not going to have a good relationship.
Right.
And it goes with every area of life, you know? So, and the thing is like, as humans, we don't like that we reap what we sow sometimes.
Right. Absolutely.
We're like, God cannot be mocked. We reap what we sow.
Right.
So we can't continue to live our life the way we shouldn't be in expecting to get a better result. Like God cannot be mocked. We reap what we sow. It's so in your face, this verse. It's one of the most powerful verses to me. I've got it tattooed.
Brian's first tattoo.
My first tattoo was that as a reminder, like you reap what you sow, you know, and the positive about this thing, no matter how old you are, no matter what you've done, you can start today as a fresh day. So that's the encouragement part of it. It's like, it's so in your face because like when you look back and you're like, man, I just totally messed up, and you can get in that guilt and that shame. And then you're seeking God, and then you're like, okay, tomorrow's a new day. That's the thing about a 24-hour period.
Right.
The light, the moon comes out, and the new day starts, and we're like, we have a chance every day to go to work, to put the work in, to seek God, to basically make amends for whatever we've done wrong. Like we can start fresh. We can plant a new seed today, and in years it's going to reap. And that's why we pray for our kids, and that's why we pray for our spouses, and that's why we do what we do, because no matter how bad things are right now, like we all have brothers or sisters or kids that are we know they're not where we want them to be, but we pray for them. Right. And so it's just, it's a punch in the face where it's like, man, I need to change. But then it's so encouraging.
But it doesn't matter who you are. You don't have to go very far to find this principle. I mean, you hear it all the time. People say, what goes around comes around.
Yes.
That's the same principle.
It is.
When people go, oh, karma. Well, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They're talking about receiving the reward for the action that they took.
Yes.
You know, so you don't have to, to go that far. And I love that principle about how it starts new every morning, because there's a scripture that says that though sorrow lasts through the night, joy comes in the morning.
Joy comes in the
Every morning you have an opportunity to wake up and create a new whatever you want.
Yeah.
And it's a new day. You can create a new life. You can create a new business. You can create a new opportunity. You can create a new relationship. Whatever it is you want to do, you have the ability to start afresh if you choose to. Problem is most people don't choose to.
No.
And it's choosing like what you're choosing to focus on. It's not the world. It's focusing on God while you're planting your seeds.
While you're planting your seeds.
You know, because like you said, he's the giver of all the knowledge. Like being close to him is where we find our peace, our comfort, and our love. And so I love that verse.
Yeah.
So
That's a good one.
Digging deep, and you go to your car, you open up that glove box when you need to know how something works.
That's right.
Digging deep and going back to the Bible, because that's the manual for us. And when we're lost or had a bad day, start your day fresh, recreate
It's
yourself.
got tons of examples, Gina, like you're saying, of what things you should be sowing so you can reap the things that you want to grow.
Yeah.
It's like Brian said, if you want apples, don't go plant a watermelon tree and expect apples to grow on it.
And it's hard. Like, Scott, real quick, I'll probably ask you, you're the expert on it. So there are people out there that maybe just don't have, they're not maybe made that way where they can, put the work in or start fresh. Like they're stuck. Like, what would you say to them in that person who's just frozen, or maybe they're turning to booze or whatever instead of God? Like, what would you?
Well, there's a principle. It's called transformation. We are to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And for those of you who watch my channel very often, you'll see that I do mindset gems every week. We put them out. It's about the condition of your mind determines your destination in life. So when you're stuck and you're frozen, you've got to do something with your mind. You've got to change your mindset. You got to change the way it is. And the great thing about where we live today in this environment. So somebody may say, well, I'm an atheist. I'm agnostic. I don't want to read the Bible. I'm not interested in that. Okay, great. But there are a lot of self-help books. You know, I just got done reading Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
Just got done reading Maltz's book on cybernetics. I mean, there's lots of things out there, lots of books out there that have the principles. Here's the really interesting thing. And I've been to secular and religious seminars, but for businesses. And here's the really interesting thing, is all of the principles that it doesn't matter whether they call themselves atheists or agnostics, the principles that they're teaching in these business seminars can be found in the Bible.
They all stand.
Like our manual.
Every good book.
It's in our manual.
Every book.
So
Think and Grow Rich, all Napoleon
all of
Hill.
those,
All those
Napoleon Hill's
stem from the
books, all of those
principles of
things,
the
they
Bible.
grab from those principles. And so what I'm saying, I guess, to your question is, just go grab one of these books. I mean, Think and Grow Rich is a great place to start. If you're stuck, if you're like, I don't even know what step to take, and you don't want to go and read the Proverbs of Solomon, go get a book like Napoleon Hill's book. Go get a book like Stephen Covey's book.
Yeah.
There are lots of books out there that can help you start to think differently. Because it's the old Einstein quote, you know, to continue to do what you've always done and expect a different result is insanity.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when people get stuck. They think this is where they're stuck. They continue to do the thing that got them stuck, and they continue to stay stuck when their transformation, their relief, their way out of that prison is only a decision away.
Yeah.
By changing
It's
somebody's
funny
mind.
that you said that, and I totally, that's awesome. And I notice when, you know, if we're in a disagreement, which some, you know, it happens, we're humans, we both can find each other sitting in a chair reading a book, the Bible typically, or another book, but just, and you do that, and then your mind's off your problems a little bit. You get this healthy little, you know, where you're like, okay, I feel better. And it calms you. Because you're renewing your mind, right? And then you're like, okay, we're back. We're back. Let's talk about this now.
I found that out. Whether I'm dealing with investors, whether I'm dealing with people in counseling sessions, doesn't matter whether it is, that if I can get them to agree to take a step to transform their mind, I can get them from where they are to where they want to be.
Yeah.
But if they won't make that choice, if they won't make that decision to transform it, then they'll continue to sow seeds that got them in the place where they are, because they'll continue to produce the same crop. And so,
well, it's like what Einstein said.
Yeah.
Like, it is exactly, you reap what you sow. Exactly what he said, just in a different words.
And,
and sometimes you have to reach those individuals, not from a biblical point of view. You have to know. Have some certain individuals in my life, my children, that I have to know what type of words to use that would resonate with them. You know, if I start quoting scripture for them, you know, they're going to shut it off, even though we're planting little seeds and stuff. But if I were to start quoting Einstein, then their eyes perk up. And then you can kind of tie that in all together. You got to get them in that mindset.
You can start quoting some of the great philosophers and Einstein, because but here's the greatest the greatest person who ever lived and was the best at doing this was Jesus. He told people exactly what was in the Torah, the Old Testament, in parables, and they didn't understand it, but they would listen to it because they weren't offended by it. They weren't. And so sometimes, and that's why I say, for me, I think the Bible has the best answer, but not everybody's going to go read the Bible. So go find that self-help book that you will read that has the principles in it that will help to change your mind. It's just the same way you just tell a different parable to your children with the same principles, but they listen because they think it's coming from a perspective that they already agree with. And it can help transform the situation.
And we all have people in our life where you just feel bad. You know, they're stuck. and obviously if it's family, sometimes it's hard for us
Right.
to be that messenger of like, come on, get your crap together, read the Bible, like go to church, like stop doing this, and like this, it's just hard, and you feel
Yeah.
for them, and so all we can do is pray, and then like, I don't know. That's why I asked you the question, because I know there's a lot of people out there, like it's probably 80-20 where the people are just stuck and they don't know what to do. And what we're talking about is reaping what you sow. Like they're having a moment where they're like, man, I have just messed up.
Right.
And so we call that, remember the day of disgust?
Day of disgust that we talked about. Yeah.
It's just the hope of that person out there, that they can, hopefully find some encouragement by what we're talking about. We've all, we've all messed up, and we've all made those mistakes. Other personal development or podcasts would tell you to, pick up your bootstraps and try harder. We're going to tell you to seek God. And we're going to tell you to dive into his word. And I don't care what you say, I will 100% guarantee you that, you will be in a better place a year from now if you read scripture every day. It's just, I will guarantee you that. I will put that stamp on there.
Brian's stamp of approval.
Guaranteed.
I guarantee it. And so, yeah, that person, that I have a heart for that person.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't walk. My mom helped me take my first step, right?
Yes.
When you're a baby, that's how it works. So
yes,
you got to take that first step. All right. Verse 8.
Okay.
All right. We still got 2 more verses to go here. Galatians.
I know.
The one who sows to please his sinful nature, from that nature will reap destruction, and the one who sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. And so let me jump on this one.
Yeah.
There are things that we can do that bring positive results, and there's things that we can do that bring negative results. Now, when you're 20 years old, you don't care, right? You're going to live forever. You're 20. It's back. I mean, obviously, a lot of kids are sowing their oats.
Yeah.
Their party days, their college, frat days, all
the
those.
world revolves around them.
The world revolves around them. And so they make a lot of decisions that are destructive to their long term.
Yeah.
Right? If we had all of the knowledge that we have now, when we were 18, we would have created an entirely different life, right? I mean, I don't know anybody who
absolutely
is not in that place. So when we take actions that don't benefit not only ourselves but others, we end up reaping those. They come back to us. One of the things that we just did this morning, we shot one of our mindset gems this morning, and we were talking about that very thing, about taking the right actions in life. Because if we don't take the right actions in life, we're going to get a response that we don't like. Yeah. So for instance, Brian, you couldn't get up in the morning every morning and eat a chocolate cream pie, right? I mean, you couldn't.
No.
He probably could.
He probably could, but he wouldn't look like he looks now, right?
No.
At some point, though it tastes good, though it makes you feel good, you enjoy it, all of that stuff, the corresponding results from it are all bad.
Yeah.
They're anti-health, they're anti-longevity, they're anti-vitality, which you need for the day. And that's what a lot of people are doing, though.
Yeah.
They get up in the morning and, they take some action. My mom, she smoked until she was in her 40s, right? She got up in the morning, first thing she'd do was light a cigarette.
Yeah.
In fact, I've seen 2 people in the last week out doing health walks smoking. I'm like, why are you enduring this heat to try to get healthy and smoking? But the reality is, it's a choice that they made. Mm-hmm. Now, I understand addictions and all of that kind of stuff, but at some point, you've got to make a decision that the action you're going to take today is going to bring about a corresponding better action. And so, we make the decision, do we get the biggest plate in the restaurant and tell them to fill it with food and we eat it all? I mean, man, when I was in my 20s, I would. Yeah. You give me a 20-ounce steak, baked potato with bacon on it, and everything else that went with it. Yeah. And then I would have dessert, right?
Oh, but the dessert is so good.
It is so good. But I can't do that now and expect to be healthy. I have to take healthy actions. So, I eat sandwiches with no bread,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I eat vegetables regularly.
Yeah.
I try to avoid, sweets. It seems like everybody's having birthday parties all around.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll have a bite just to not offend you, but that's it.
But that's it too, though, because you're
you
saying
know.
I don't eat it, but you can.
You can.
In,
Yeah.
in moderation.
In
If you
moderation.
think about everything in moderation.
Yeah.
So instead of eating that full chocolate cake, like, oh, I'm going to have a sliver of this.
Right. And when I was a
Everything.
teenager, I would have a piece of chocolate cake, and then I'd see everybody had a piece and there was more left, and I'd go get another piece,
Yeah.
The-
But that is a really good point when you're talking about like youth,
Right.
and if there's younger people out there, you don't know that something may be addictive to you, whether it's
Right.
food or drug. I remember when Zach was little, my son, I'd drive him around, look at houses and stuff. And you go to Phoenix and there's homeless people.
Right.
There's, people living in a tent and stuff like that. And I look back at Zach and we were driving, I was quiet. I'm like, you could be one bad decision away from being in
there.
that tent.
Yeah.
Because some people have that addictive. They, oh, I'm going to try this drug one time, and then they're there.
They're there.
And so that's another thing that you brought up that came into my
Right.
mind of like protecting yourself from that. And a lot of people these days, it's food.
Right.
It's food. That's where they feel their comfort, and they're not satisfied, and they're eating their anxiety away, and it's easy. So having those boundaries, that's important.
Yeah, I think it's important. Now, the other thing, back to the shoot we were doing, I started on, I was talking about the golden rule. See, a lot of people forget that the golden rule is not just about what it does for other people. Remember, do unto others as you'd like them to do unto you, kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we think, oh, that's so that we treat other people well. But do you know what happens when you treat other people well? A feeling, because there's chemicals released in your mind, a feeling of euphoria and well-being come upon you when you help other people. That's why, when you feed a homeless person or a hungry person in downtown Phoenix, when you give into your missions programs and you know that it's doing something somewhere in the world, we've got a feeding program that we've been doing for 20 years in the Philippines. And we get to see that we've seen the kids when they're this big, and now we've seen the kids that they're growing up.
Yeah.
These kids parents had left, they had no food. It does something to you. And it's the same thing with when you help somebody. Let's say that you've got a skill or a knowledge that somebody else could use to better their life. Well, instead of trying to hoard that, find a way to give it away. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that you can't be a coach and if you got skills and people can't hire you, but why don't you find somebody who's not in a position to pay you and help them?
Yeah.
Do something for them. Make a difference in somebody's life. Give somebody who needs a drink a bottle of water. Go do something for orphans and widows. Go do something that's going to help somebody who cannot repay you.
Yeah.
And it actually will make you a stronger person on the inside, and it will help to fill a lot of those deficiencies that people try to cover up with drugs, alcohol, sex, and all the rest of it, overeating, whatever it is, they try to cover that up. Because, when we sow in areas of righteousness, it brings about well-being for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's the last I would throw down.
That's
your
really
guys'
good, though.
comments
But I
on-
mean, because
It
they
is.
always talk about service, just getting out and serving other people however
Right.
that may be, whether it's through your church or whether it's through your business and your spreading the knowledge that you have, you always walk away feeling a little bit better. And what a beautiful thing that all it is just helping people.
Right.
And it goes back to, what did Jesus do?
Right.
That's all he did.
And we all have God created us for a purpose. And when we're seeking that purpose, or when we're not doing that purpose, we just kind of flounder,
Right.
And so that's one thing, we're always praying, how do you want me to serve? Samuel, here I
Right.
am, Lord, send me, I want to be used, but
Right.
it's hard to be used when you're so busy and frantic, quieting down and reading scripture, and because God made us a certain way, he gave us all the gifts. So when we're living outside that purpose, we're just not going to be content.
Well, and that podcast we did on the Day of Discuss, I think really explained that really well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when I would encourage people to go back and listen to, because it really talked about when you get in that thing, how do you get out of it?
Yeah.
You know, and there is a way out.
There is.
So that's good.
There
Okay.
Yeah.
Verse 9. Gene,
Verse
I'm gonna
9.
throw this one at you.
I have my notes.
Let us not become weary in well doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up.
Okay, for me, this is the biggest do not quit ever. A little bit about me. Growing up, I was the biggest quitter in the world. You could ask my brother Jimmy about like, oh, we'd set up these elaborate games. We get, life all set up and put everything, and we would start, and I'd be like, I quit. And he would get so mad. He would cry and go and run and tell my mom, Gene, I quit. And so I just got in this habit of, I quit. I'm not proud to say, recently counted, by the time I was 30, I had over 25 jobs.
Wow. And knowing her, does it seem that she would ever be that?
It doesn't. From the Gina I know.
She's told me story. I'm like,
I know.
Like, and so it's the transformation.
Right.
God,
Yeah.
Because she tells me this stuff. I'm like, you never run. You're like, let's go, let's tackle this. And I'm like, she tells me a story. I'm like, who is this person?
Yeah. So this one was a challenge for me, but I think it's with, like Brian's saying, that whole transformation of, you know what? I have to continue to do the good work. And like we talked in the beginning, we were talking about, the shifts in market. That was huge for us. That old Gina was like, all right, throw it away. Like, we're upside down. Like, we're holding this big, gigantic bag. How are we ever going to get through this? And we just prayed a lot and went to trustworthy people that we knew us, followed God, and looked for advice and had each other's back. And, Brian was a big encourager when I would be like, I can't do this. Like, this is too much. He's like, no, we can do this. We're going to do the right thing. And really, we all get tired. We're overworked. We're exhausted. We're overcommitted. We put so much time into what we have to do that it's easy to become weary. But God just wants us to keep pushing forward, because if we don't push forward, where are we going to be? And we know that eventually we'll get that harvest. We might not have watermelons growing out of apple trees, but we continue to do good. We'll see his reward. I truly believe that. Another little example is a couple years ago, we are a blended family, and that's not without its challenges and stuff. And there was a time that we were having some problems with the kids and just communication. And Brian and I felt like, oh, we continue to reach out to them. Oh, we continue to ask them to come over, or we call them, and we would get nothing.
Right.
Nothing back from anybody. And it was very hurtful. And like, we really struggled with it. And we just said, no, this is what we're supposed to do. We're going to continue to do the right thing and reach out pray for them and send them our love. And over time, those relationships changed. And
now they're better than they've ever been.
They're better than ever. But it was many times, it's like, you text somebody and you don't ever hear back from them. And part of you, the human part of you, goes, you know what? I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm going to stop reaching out. I'm not going to do this. But, God wants us to continue to do the work he has for us.
It was, taking ourselves out of the equation and thinking about their hurts and stuff. Because obviously, going through a divorce is never easy.
Right.
And each kid, person, family handles it differently. And so we just loved them, prayed for them, and, we're around when we could be and there when they needed. And then now it's, I feel that we're like closer than we've ever been. And it's so many magical just blessings that you get from that. So,
one of the greatest quotes I ever heard was a friend of mine. Well, I'll say acquaintance of mine. He was being interviewed, and he was asked that with the type of organization that he had, all of these other people who had come and gone out of business, but that he managed to flourish when others couldn't. And they asked, what was his secret to success? And his answer was very simple. He said, I lasted. That was it. I lasted. He didn't give up. He didn't get weary when it was hard.
Yeah.
He didn't give up when it was too challenging. He didn't get up when people said bad things about him. He continued to go on. He lasted. He persevered through it. I mean, could you think of a farmer who prepares his field, plants his seed, waters and tends everything, and when his crop gets halfway grown, he stops doing anything.
Yeah.
Right? Now all the weeds grow up. The good stuff starts to die because it doesn't have water.
Yeah.
Because he gave up because he was weary. He couldn't endure.
What was that book? 3 Feet from Gold?
3 Foot from Gold?
3 Foot from Gold, yeah. Do you remember that book?
I don't remember that one.
My goodness, I'm supposed to remember it. But anyways, the story.
I'm sure it's in our library.
He was mining for gold, and then his machine
I
broke
do
down or
remember
something.
you told me this,
And then
yes.
the next guy came
Next
in.
guy
and
came in and bought it. He was 3 feet away
quit.
from gold. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, gold or something, mineral.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
was gold.
It was
I
gold,
do.
yeah.
I do remember
Yeah.
the mine. Yeah, that's a story for life.
It is.
Is that a lot of times our biggest victories are just beyond what we look at as defeat.
Yeah.
You know, when we think we can't go any further, we think we can't do any more, and we give up. And really, if we had persevered and pushed through, you know, our victory was laying there ahead of us.
And it's God's timing, and people don't necessarily like God's timing,
right?
You know, because in growing weary, it's like, and it goes with it. Actually, all three of our verses is just continuing to do it, continue to put the work in, and reading and the stuff that you do that you know is healthy. And then also, like, there's stuff that everybody who's listening, and us included, there's stuff that we need to stop, that we need to remove from our life, you know. And we've talked about this in other podcasts about, you know, social media. People spend all their lives on social media and TV and all the stuff that they're doing, like feeding your brain. Continuing to pray for those in your family who are struggling, and continuing to do the right things, we will reap a harvest. And it's not going to be when we want it.
Right.
It could be years and years from
now.
We may not even see it.
Might even see,
And
generational.
It's okay, but that's the growing weary of just like, and not giving up.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Well, this podcast would be easy to go, well, the real estate market's not good. I'm speaking to real estate investors. It would be easy just to not do this because there's a lot of these smaller, or the people that got into real estate investing, then the market changed and now they're out, and the market's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But we keep doing it. Why?
Yeah.
Because we have a vision for a future.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be moved by the economy. And even though that some of these things are a struggle, whether it's flipping homes, whether it's renting homes, whether it's patching, whenever the struggles are there, whenever the problems are there, some government regulator comes in and tells you can't do short-term rentals or whatever, you know, we just continue to persevere because we have a vision that's far beyond today. You know, we're not going to give up.
And we know that real estate, like the founding principles of real estate are there, and they probably will always be there.
Right.
So whether you're going through ups and downs, like and so the last 4 years are tough, but what about the 10 or 11 before that, when we were doing 50,
good.
60, 70, 80, $100,000 a flip.
Yeah.
So, I can stay in it then, but then when they get tough, I should just go run and hide.
Right.
It's not going to do that, because I feel like real estate has the basic principles that the majority of the people on this earth who are wealthy are involved in real estate.
Yep.
So why am I going to run?
Yeah, history says the markets are going to
Plus, I don't know what
correct
the heck
themselves.
else I would do.
They're going to come out. So
I don't know if I can do anything
We're good.
else.
We'll just reinvent ourselves.
Just reinvent
along
yourself.
The way.
That's right.
all.
That's the
We'll
whole
just
thing I was talking
perfect.
about, how to reinvent yourself. Well, we need to close it up. This has been an awesome time. I want to thank you for joining me on this episode of the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Be sure to check out our growing list of previous episodes and other real estate investing topics. I invite you to subscribe today and be part of our growing community. You can always find the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcast, YouTube, or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. This is Scott Whitwam. Be sure to join our next episode of the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast, where we're wealth building through real estate.